Yay! Hi, thank you. Thank you. That's really kind. Thank you so much. Oh, I see my family down front. I got family in Austin. It's like close to Austin. Where are you guys? New Brussels? Braunfels? Don't know. It's far from where we started in Compton. I don't know where you are now, but happy to see y'all. So listen, I'm just got to be really honest here. This isn't exactly the speech I had planned. I wrote it this morning, started a couple of hours ago. I didn't even read it back to myself because there was no time. I wrote it like a journal entry because it was the best I can do. I'm shooting right now. I'm in the middle of prepping a show, and so when you're directing, it's everything, for me anyway. It's like a laser focus. So I'm going to read it to you like a journal entry, if that's cool. It's the best I got. Because the truth is, I planned to start writing this speech earlier in the week, but I've been having a bad week. Stuff happened, personal stuff, the kind of stuff where you just want to go home and take a hot shower and crawl in bed kind of stuff. And it was that kind of week all week, and I didn't make time to write the speech. I didn't make time to do the things that I usually do to realign, to strike a balance. I didn't make time to feed this new habit that I picked up over the last year while making and sharing Selma. It's a really good habit, and one of the many gorgeous things that I learned on this dazzling journey, but I didn't do it all week, and so the whole friggin' week just devolved. I mean, it was just a nightmare of a friggin' week. I got to the hotel here at 1 o'clock in the morning last night with no speech in my hand to make a keynote speech right now, and just felt like crap. And needless to say, I felt like I was in trouble last night. So at around 2 a.m., I started to force myself to write. I actually put pen to paper, and the very thing that I'd failed to do all week started to happen. In that moment, I remembered that I'd skipped doing it for the last few days. So I just shook my head like, you idiot, and I did it. I made a list of 5 things that I was grateful for in that moment. And that's something that I've been doing for the last year. A certain woman with the initials OW got me started doing it. And you know, it really has been transformative for me. So my 5 things last night were a smooth, dark, quiet flight when they turn off the lights and there's no babies crying. And that one annoying guy who always wants to like be the one who reads on the dark plane decides not to read and to sleep with the rest of us. That happened, and it was a gift, and in that moment I was grateful. A South by volunteer greeted me with a smile off the escalators. And another one drove me to the hotel at midnight safe and sound, and that was a gift, and I was grateful. Being on the same flight with my production designer from the show that I'm working on, Inbal Weinberg, who told me great stories in the Newark Hotel about that one time she was a member of the Israeli army, true story, and her hilarious philosophy about set crushes, and that was a gift for which I'm grateful. She's here somewhere. Where are you, Inbal? Don't mess with her. She's a former member of the Israeli army. It's true. It's really true. A very clean, lovely hotel room with excellent water pressure in the shower and a soft, clean bed. You know, sometimes you go to, I travel a lot, so sometimes you go to a hotel and you're like, is that a stain on the sheet? Okay, never mind, just keep it moving. But this was clean, it was white and clean, and it had a lovely view of Austin. I was so grateful to the festival, and it was a gift in that moment, and I was grateful. And I went to bed, and for the first time in 3 nights, I wasn't crying into my pillow, because like I said, I've had a tough week, some personal stuff's been going on. And I went to bed with a smile, because I had done that, and I was comfortable in the bed, and I woke up knowing exactly what I wanted to share with you today, because it's something that I needed to share with myself again and remind myself of. So what I want to talk about is about the intention of our attention. The intention of our attention. It's so big for everyone, but especially for artists and creative types like us. It's the cause that produces the effect, and the effect is our life. So whether you're conscious of it or not, your intention is the cause that produces the effect, which is your life. So if you are not paying attention to your intention, then your life just kind of is a bit of a hot mess. That's what I found. Each decision we make and action we take is born out of intention. So every thought, person, experience that we give our attention to is motivated by intention. So I'm going to explain this. I'm going to tell a story of the opening days of my 3 first narrative films, the films I've made so far. Because what I was doing on each of those opening days really reminds me of where I was in my intention about the project. And as I reflect on it, I see patterns and parallels that speak directly to this idea that I'm sharing with you. So my first film was a film called I Will Follow, first narrative film. I made it with $50,000 savings and the goodwill and talent of friends. And my intention was to begin my career and make something that I could put into theaters myself through this new distribution collective that I'd founded called Affirm. Anyone know about Affirm in here? That's right. Small but mighty tribe. And so my intention was to get that kick-started. So I made the film knowing that I was going to distribute it through Affirm, my distribution collective that I'd founded with friends and comrades, and that this would launch Affirm, and other filmmakers would want to release their films with us, and we would build autonomy and independence and community. And so on the opening day of I Will Follow, I was at a theater in LA, working like a distributor, tracking the details of the 4 other cities around the country where the film had opened, where we'd opened the film. I remember doing a CNN interview about distributing films with elbow grease and no money. There was a glowing tweet from Roger Ebert, which linked to his overwhelmingly positive review. And the film went on, and it did well, and it built autonomy and independence and community, and it set up Affirm in ways that I intended. And it was all about distributing films in that moment for me, improving our model and our worth as Black filmmakers, improving myself, and I gave my intention every ounce and molecule of my attention working up to that day, and it was a beautiful day, and I felt like I achieved my intention, but later I would see my error. Second film was Middle of Nowhere. I made it for $200,000. Anybody see it? A few people. Small but mighty tribe, 3 people. And so I made it with $200,000 and the goodwill and talent of friends, and all I was thinking about on that film, Sundance. That's all I wanted. I'd been rejected from every lab I had applied to there. 5 times rejected from the labs. 3 of my films had been rejected, my first short, my first doc, and my first narrative, I Will Follow. And when I look back, although I hate to admit it, getting into Sundance came into my mind as I started making that film. Making the deadline really was what I was really, really focused on. Structuring the post so that we'd be done in time for the deadline, rushing to make the deadline, thinking about the deadline every day, pushing to get it in on time with my fingers tightly crossed. And we did it, and for once and finally we made it in. And on the film's first opening day, I was at Sundance in dramatic competition, and we won an award. And the film was launched into the world in the way that I intended, by giving all my attention and every bit of my DNA to that intention. And I felt like I achieved something, but later I would see my error. My error wasn't what was achieved, because on both films, I made great strides as a filmmaker and a film distributor. The error was my intention in the first place and where I put my attention, because I wasn't making great strides as a human being and an artist. On I Will Follow, I was proving my worth through distribution and box office, and that's what I wanted. My worth was outside of myself with distribution and box office. On Middle of Nowhere, I was proving my worth through festivals and accolades. My worth was outside of myself. And while I achieved them, I never felt lighter. I never felt better, clearer, and I never felt happier through all of that. I mean, it was cool. I was having a good time, but there was a difference from what I felt later. I was just going from thing to thing, accomplishment to accomplishment, achievement to achievement, and my heart wasn't enlarging, and my balance was broken. And I really didn't even know it, because you're just so in the thing, and you're not really in the thing, you're outside of the thing. Everything is happening outside of you. So I came to realize that those dreams I'd been dreaming, what was the problem? What was so off? What was the error? And it's because the dreams were too small. If your dream only includes you, it's too small. If that dream is just about the thing you want to accomplish and you don't even know why you want it, I mean, it's too small. It may take your attention, but you're not really winning. You may achieve it, but you're not growing from it. You're just going from thing to thing. It may look like success from the outside, but if you don't even truly know why you're doing it, then your cause and effect will be off, and you're not going to be fully, truly living your dream. So I feel a little weird to tell you that when you win awards and the light is on you, that it's not going to be enough, but that's what I'm telling you, and I wish someone would have told me that early. If we limit our visions to those things outside of us to validate us, we're making an intentional error that might very well bring the outside thing you want, but it'll ring hollow in the end. Why? Because none of that shit really matters. I was interviewing a great filmmaker, a great guy, Justin Simeon, did a film called Dear White People. Anybody see it? For a podcast that I do with black filmmakers, just trying to amplify the work of just people of color as they make films. So I do this podcast where I interview my colleagues, my comrades. And he said a hell of an honest and true thing. And he actually said it to me before I had even articulated it. He said, it's a hell of a thing to get everything you wanted. And he said it with like a little bit of melancholy and sadness. And I recognized it because I knew it right in that moment. And so I feel kind of like, it's like when Madonna's like, oh my gosh, it's so hard to just have all the lights on you. Like, that's not this. I'm trying to communicate something. You know what I mean? I'm trying to communicate something to say, when that light is on you, what do you do to really just feel it? You know what I mean? Just feel it and take it in and just be nourished by it. And so in the first two films, I didn't feel it. I was just running through it. And now I feel it. It's Selma. So we made, thanks. So this is when I started to set aside that ego for something larger, and a realm of beauty opened up in ways I can only struggle here to share with you. I'm gonna try not to get emotional. But my third film, Selma, we made for $20 million. Some crazy person decided that it was a good idea to give me that. And through the goodwill and talent of friends and Oprah Winfrey, I went through the whole thing with a sense of almost bewilderment and just wonder. I couldn't believe any of it. I just couldn't believe it because none of it was my intention. Something happened as I started Selma that excluded any thought of box office or awards or any of that. This is my father. My father is from that place. My father is from Lowndes County, Alabama. And though I'm in love with a really great guy, my dad is the one I love the most. He's the man I love the most. I looked at him, I looked at John Lewis, I looked into the face of Amelia Boynton, I looked into the faces of these survivors of murder attempts on that bridge in 1965, on a bridge that's still to this day named after the Grand Dragon of the Ku Klux Klan in the area. And I had no thought about any of that other crap that usually had motivated me to make films, to be honest. I went into that film with one thought, singular and clear: serve this story. Serve this story. You have to. It wasn't made with any sort of achievement in mind. It was an experience and an offering. The experience that we all had in making it was the most nourishing thing I've ever experienced. It's something I'll treasure forever. The offering was for others to see and take from it what they will or not. The fact that it was made hand in hand with artists about these badass activists was the achievement. And I didn't come to it because I was so enlightened at that point. I wasn't, and still am not enlightened. It was simply all I could muster in the face of a momentous task of being charged with telling the story. Serve the story. That's all I thought about. That was my intention, and that's what I gave my attention to. It sounds like it's minimal, but it was so, so huge. Didn't feel huge, it just felt like the only thing one could do and still survive and stay sane with the idea of jumping from $200,000 to $20 million, telling a story in your father's hometown. You're an African-American studies major. You're telling the first film ever made and released in theaters about King. Like, you know what? It's a lot going on. Let me just serve the story. I'm just gonna serve the story, right? And so it didn't come out of like, I wasn't like baby Oprah. I was just like, I'm just gonna serve the story and focus on that. So on opening day, Christmas Day was our first opening, had 2 openings, limited opening. I wasn't tracking the brisk box office. I wasn't reading our 100% fresh reviews on Rotten Tomatoes. I wasn't thinking about our Golden Globe nominations, none of that. All the things I would have been obsessed about before. I'm telling you, I used to be a publicist. I like pore over the internet. Like, I would have been obsessed about it before. I didn't do any of that. On opening day, in contrast to what I had done on the other opening days, I went completely full on nerd. I went with David Oyelowo, my great friend, my brother who played Dr. King beautifully, didn't he? He and I, he's such a nerd. First of all, I'm single. I can jump in the car and do what I want. He's a father of 4 with a wife. So he's more, it was more nerd. I was like, this is bad. And he was just like, let's do it. We jumped in the car and it was opening in like 5 theaters in Los Angeles. And we drove to everyone. And we watched people watch our movie. We were still in the mode of serving the story. So it was like, okay, we made it. Like, it was like serving a dinner. Like, okay, watching them eat, you know? And we drove around from theater to theater. We watched people watch the story. And that brought me more joy than I think I'd experienced on everything that happened with the other films. Just that, standing in the back of the theater, watching people, and just stripped of all of the other shit that I thought mattered. It's just about this, like just this. They're watching what you made, and they're watching the story that you told about people whose story deserves to be told. So the fear of messing up that vital story elevated me in a way. It was an unconscious setting aside of my ego. Like I said, it wasn't anything I did on purpose. Now I look back and I see how it was a good thing. But I'd gone into it with an intention of only one thing, service. Not fear, not striving, not grasping, not proving, not box office, not hustling, not accolades, not reviews, not awards. I was so freaked out about messing it up that early on I found my calm and just every day said, serve the story, and gave every molecule of myself and all that attention to that. The main thing is I started working inward, not outward. And when I tell you that the world opened up, there are dreams out there bigger than you even know how to dream. So don't limit the dream with the small stuff. You have to open up and make your attention be beyond yourself, because if your dream is only about you, it's too small. So by not limiting myself with a narrow external intention, I experienced more. Listen to me. I've had the fucking most awesome year, okay? Listen to me, what I'm telling you. I can't even describe, but I'm going to try. This time last year, we were not even shooting that film. This day last year, we didn't even have a green light. It was like, we may shoot, maybe we go in August, maybe is it gonna happen? I remember the day I got the call to direct this stalled movie. I wasn't the first, the second, or the third choice to direct the film. I wasn't the fourth, or fifth, or sixth choice. I was the 7th. It's flattering. This year, it's the 7th director asked to direct the film. At the point they were like, look, lady, do you want to give it a try? Like, I remember the day I got that call on this stalled movie, going away to write and wondering if I'd be able to do King justice. The day they told me, oh, yes, by the way, you can't use the real speeches. It's like, what do you mean not use the real speeches? He's Dr. King, he's all about speeches. Like, yeah, we can't afford those, so I don't know what you're gonna do, lady, but let's see what happens. So I'm like sitting, like trying to reconstruct speeches, and then, so rewriting that script and having to give up my writing credit as the only way to get the film made. Oprah coming on board, the day we were greenlit by Paramount, the day I scouted the bridge for the first time with my crew and my dad by my side, the day I moved my whole life to Atlanta to start prep, the day I first heard David do his King voice. Oh. The days I chose each and every actor, I remember, and called them and told them. The day we all gathered for the first table read. The day I first called action on Selma. The many hot days shooting in Georgia and Alabama and all those glorious extras. They were supposed to be playing winter in 1965, which means wool coats and hats and gloves and stockings, and it was hot. It was the summer in the South, and they did it, and they were beautiful, and they wore Selma. The late night shot listing with Bradford Young. Props if anybody knows Bradford Young. Shooting the speeches and the marches and feeling so in pocket, like just like walk on the set like, I got this. Like we're doing, it's like the Matrix. It's like, I'm done, thank you. Drop the mic. Like, that's how I felt every day. I felt on fire with the shooting. Wrapping the shoot on July 4th weekend, like feeling like going back on the plane from Atlanta to LA, like I'm like, it's Independence Day. It's like in my mind, like I'm talking about, it's like, okay, shut up, keep moving. My editing room at Paramount, you know, usually I edit like in my editor Spencer's house or like wherever. And so we're like going through the Paramount gates like, holy shit. And all the hours there with him and how much I love him, Spencer Averick. Working on music with Jason Moran, who's like one of the foremost jazz artists and a young, amazing guy. And Morgan Rhodes, my music supervisor, and just any kind of music we want, trying to figure out what was the musical landscape of it. So fun. The first time we premiered the film, no, test screenings. My agent Ben, good friend, Ben and agent is here. Those test screenings. First of all, I was like, test screenings? What's that? And it was just like, oh, the studio's like, oh yeah, like we put it in front of random people and they tell us if you're gonna be able to keep it that way or if you're gonna have to change it. I was like, huh? What? I don't understand this process, like what's going on? Like just really freaked out because of my first studio endeavor and I just was like, I don't know what this is. So sitting there with like lovely, but random people in like a random town, like not really in LA, like kind of far, watching them walk in and be like, oh, they're gonna hate this. I can tell by the way they look. They're not gonna be into King. What is this? And like scoring, what was it, like a 97 out of 100, like crazy numbers. And the studio's like, let's do another one, serious. So they did a second one, scored even higher. I was like, okay, a little collar pop, it's good, we keep it going. So going through that process, which was crazy, the first time we decided to play the film at AFI, which is a festival in LA, we had wrapped the film in July, AFI was in November. For you filmmakers out there, not really enough time to put together a $20 million film properly, but we did it. We're at AFI, the film is going. I had been up all night the night before. I went into the bathroom, I vomited, I cried. I was like, they're gonna put me in director's jail. I barely just started making films, like, it's cool, maybe Ben can help me get like another 200 grand, like I got stories, like I can do, like I was freaking myself out in the bathroom. I come out of the bathroom, I'm standing on the side, because I never sit during screening, I'm standing on the side, the last things are going, and I was just like, you know, that horrible moment when you have to show your film for the first time, and you're just like, and then they stood up. And I was just like, what's happening? Where are they going? What are they doing? Is it that bad? And it was a standing ovation, and then tweets started to come through, a triumph, and blah, blah, blah. I was like, really? Is this a joke? What's going on? I remember that day and just being so sleep deprived that I really didn't even believe what was going on, that it was being well received, that the story was working. The first tweets and reviews, they were wow. The New York premiere at the Ziegfeld Theater in New York, where the last time I was there was as a publicist on the red carpet for Dreamgirls. And I remember being a publicist on that carpet and thinking, maybe one day I'll have a film here. And I was standing there in a gown, introducing my film, and also saying I can't breathe at the same time. That was good. The Legends Ball at Oprah's house, just at her house. 2 days at the mansion in Santa Barbara, with food that is like nothing I've ever put in my mouth. The grounds, you know, the grass, it's like I've never seen that type of green. It's just so nice. And all the real legends from the civil rights movement are there, and it was the first time that they saw the film. She rented a theater in Santa Barbara, and they saw the film in tears and hugs from the real people, and you're just like, what's going on? Breathtaking. And then, you know, Rotten Tomatoes, 10, 100%, 10 reviews. Oh, good, that's good. 20, 100% positive. I was like, oh, nice. 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 80 reviews, 100% fresh on Rotten Tomato, the only film that had it at that time. I'm thinking, they're not gonna put me in director's jail. Thank God. Thank God. Opening day on Christmas, doing that nerdy tour with David. The LBJ stuff. And the strength of friends and colleagues and fans of the film to get through all that drama with my head still on straight. The first time I saw the guys perform Glory live, great. All the awards chatter, the awards nominations, the awards non-nominations, the awards shows, oh Lord, so many awards, the dresses, the styling, the Prada flying 2 Italian seamstresses out to get these hips just right in the dress. They were like, we're trying to fit it remotely, but it's not working. Let us send someone out. And so really 2 lovely Italian ladies came and they're like pulling and sewing. It was great. The White House, walking up in the White House, knowing that 100 years before the first film to ever screen in the White House was A Birth of a Nation. Birth of a Nation, first film to ever screen in the White House. And 100 years later, to the year, Selma being screened by our beautiful Black president. And then dinner with him and his wife in the residence. Nice. I was like, oh, I thought we were just coming to show the movie. Do you want to have dinner? Yes. I do want to have dinner, actually. I think it might have been because I was rolling with Oprah, but it's okay because, you know, just so lovely to be able to have that time, and wow, they're just so cool. Marching in Selma, bringing Selma back to Selma, right? Marching across that bridge and watching the people of Selma watch their history and their story, I can't describe. London, taking the film to London, taking the film to Berlin, the Image Awards, the Grammys, this little luncheon I was invited to at Diane von Furstenberg's house. She's looking fabulous. I'm like, wow, you're so beautiful. And she's like, you're freaking me out a little bit. And Meryl Streep walks up to me and wants to talk about Selma. I can't tell you what she said because I was just like, holy shit. You're Meryl Streep and you're Meryl Streep. Fantastic. Whoa. Alfre Woodard gave me a dinner in LA where all the Black actresses, I mean literally, every Black actress who was in town came to celebrate me, the film, each other. I mean, they were all there. It was just like the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. A beautiful night. The Spirit Awards, which were really fun. The Oscars, glory. And the realization at the Oscars that blew my mind, which was the big deal for me out of the whole journey, that it was a room in LA. That it's not anything but a big room in LA with very nice people dressed up and applauding. And it's cool, it is very cool, but my work's worth is not based on what happens in, around, for, or about that room. And that was, at this point in my career, 3 films in, to just have that lifted off of like, this is not what I'm striving for. Like to be sitting there and watching the film nominated for Best Picture, and the guys, and they're performing, and they're winning, and we're dressed, and the Prada's fitting, and I'm like, okay. And I'm just like, wow, okay, this is just like, I'm looking around the room, and it's just like this. It's just a room with very nice people applauding, but this cannot be the basis of what we do. This does not determine the worth of my work. And that, for me, at this point, it was a revelation in that moment. I was like stunned and starstruck by that revelation for the next couple of weeks, and certainly in that moment. So none of that was my intention that I outlined to you. My intention was to serve the story. But these are things I couldn't even have dreamed about. If I would have put a cap on what I wanted by stating, I want good box office, I want good New York Times review, I want this, I really believe that I would have been blocking in some way, limiting what happened, because I feel that's what happened before. Now the film is opened in over 36 countries around the world, from Chile to Australia, from Hong Kong to Italy. A day doesn't pass since that very first premiere at AFI that someone doesn't walk up to me, write me, tweet me, text me, and tell me how the story served them. Emotionally, entertainment-wise, spiritually, film geek-wise, politically, culturally. And I say all this to invite you to go inward and see what happens with an intention of service and not all that other stuff. I didn't do it on purpose. I did it by accident. And I could see what happened. So now I'm really going to try to do it on purpose and just try to share what I learned with other people. You know, we don't see things how they are, we see them how we are. And I had to start asking myself, why do you want that? Why do you want that praise? Why do you need it? What is it giving you? And I started to ask myself that often. This author that I like, Gary Zukav, said somewhere, when the sun shines, it doesn't say, how'd I do today? Are you appreciating me yet? It just shines. That's all you have to do is shine. Do your work and shine, and it just comes. Sometimes just making yourself at home is revolutionary. A guy named Paul Beatty said that. Just being at home in your skin, at home in your art, at home in your work, wanting nothing but to do your work and share it. It seems simple, but it eludes us. And when I find myself embarking on this new project that I'm doing now, I investigated my intention and my attention on that and move forward in that space, not with the distractions. And I'm just watching what happens, and it feels really good. I promise it's good. Because that's your lane, right? Your lane is not all that other stuff. When you're in your lane, there's no traffic, right? When you're in your lane, it goes from here to where you want to go. If where you want to go is a true place, something that really nourishes you, everything clears. And that's what I experienced this past year. My intention this morning was to share this idea with hopes that it might touch one person who needed to hear it. That would be a gift for which I would be grateful. I hope you're out there somewhere, and thank you for listening. Thank you. Oh, thanks. Thank you. Thanks. Thank you. Yay! They're saying we have time for a few questions. They're saying we have time for 20 minutes of questions. So, does anyone have any questions? Or not even questions, anything you want to say, something you're feeling. Tell us about your movie that's playing, a good song you heard, whatever. Hi. Hey, how you doing? I know you on Twitter. Yeah, do we have mics for people? Is it possible? Over here. Someone gonna do the Phil Donahue? Oh. Shout yours out. Sure. She's asking about the women in the script. Thanks for the question and always giving me cool tweets. Yeah, no, there weren't any women in the script in a significant way. Coretta was, I mean, not even tangential. I think at one point she was like, go get him. Yeah. Go get him, Martin. And so, you know, that's just not going to do. So I added them in, and there they are. You know, they were always on the women of the movement never got their due, I don't think, in the way that they should have. I don't know if women, yeah. There's a great scholar that I love to listen to speak. Her name is Brittany Cooper. And she was listening to a speech that she did that was online the other day where she was talking about how the intellectual labor of women is always disregarded. And so certainly the intellectual labor that women went to the movement is not in the history book. So it was imperative to put in Amelia Boynton, Coretta Scott King, Annie Lee Cooper, Richie Jean Jackson, and Diane Nash, and make sure that they were present in the film. So thank you for that. Okay, so I'm gonna do it properly now. Hi, right here.
Hey, Ava.
Hi.
I'm Jeremy Burgess. I'm born and raised in Birmingham.
Oh, cool.
My mother lived in Marion during the movement.
Oh, wow.
So thank you.
Right
Your movie brought us to tears. So, as someone that comes from a place like Birmingham, it makes me wonder, how did it take half a century for this story to get told?
Yeah, I don't know. I wasn't there, but you know, yeah. I mean, I think, you know, really obviously the studios aren't lining up to make films about black protagonists, about freedom and dignity as it pertains to black people and people of color being the drivers of their lives. So that's not. What should we make this year, Tom? Oh, let's make that black people being autonomous and independent and all of that. But then also, you know, I think there was a lot of, you know, early on challenges around the estate and the way that would be approached. And I think also the films that were, not that our film's the end all be all, because there should be 10 more films about King, but the films just had a hard time approaching such an epic life. Like a lot of the scripts, it was just a challenge to put your arms around it. So I think one of the great things about Selma is when I came into the project, one of the good things that the original screenwriter did do was narrow down the window and say, we will explore King through this very abbreviated amount of time of Selma and try to get a full picture of him through this time. And I think that approach really helped propel Selma forward. But I don't know if any of those are good answers. It just wasn't meant to be. To think that it came out at this kind of cultural moment where there were so many things speaking, the film was in conversation with actual things that were happening on the ground around voting, about police aggression, about the, the breaking of black bodies, all of that. It just feels like the film wanted to be out now. So it is. Thank you. Hi.
Hi. Oh, hi. Hi, Ava. I was really impressed by Selma. I thought it was really important, beautiful, amazing filmmaking. And I'm really excited about your work. And I was wondering if you could tell us anything about the series you're working on now, because I'm so pumped because you're really great.
Yeah. Well, I decided I was going to thank you. I decided I was just going to do a TV year. I'm like totally engrossed and entranced and enamored by all the stuff that's going on in television. I mean, auteurs, writer-directors going there and being able to tell a story that's elongated. We don't have to just fit it into 2 hours. You could tell a story over 13 episodes, 22 episodes. I'd done one episode of Scandal and really had fun on it and thought, wow, maybe I can get involved in more than just the director coming in and serving the writer's vision. Maybe I can start to create shows. And so 2 shows that I'm working on this season, love to get them both on air. One of them's already greenlit straight to series. I'm doing it for a friend of mine who owns a network. And so she said, do you want a series? And I was like, yes. And then she said, okay, well, do you? And I was like, cool. So that's what I'm shooting this summer. But then also this other story came up that I really love, and this is the one that I'm shooting now, prepping now with Inbal, called For Justice, which is about modern-day freedom fighters, this elite unit of the FBI that investigates civil rights abuses and what does civil rights look like in 2015. So each week they have different cases, whether it's a transgender murder, anti-Muslim sentiment, anti-Semitic sentiment. The first episode that I'm directing is kind of a Ferguson-like case. But to think that you have this procedural, like it's for CBS, so, it's not going to be Game of Thrones with the edgy. But, within the context of a network procedural, to be able to kind of slip in some stories about marginalized folks that aren't usually on the forefront. And the lead is a black woman. She leads a multicultural unit of freedom fighters. It's led by Anika Noni Rose. Felicia Rashad is in it. So I'm having fun with it. My intention is to put out something that just gives a different view of, American life than what we usually see on the front pages, and to do that on the biggest, most kind of middle America network that I could find. And so that's going to be hopefully something CBS wants to pick up once we make it.
Thank you so much.
Hi.
Ava, my name is Felicia Hatcher. Quick question, the big C word, compromise. Can you talk about that process of giving up your writing credit for Selma? If there was any internal, what you were going on to make that final decision?
Internal struggle?
Yes.
Yeah, it's not easy to have someone else's name on your work. Mm-hmm. But ultimately, the film wouldn't have been made if it wasn't. And my intention was to serve the story, not serve myself, not serve my writing credit. I mean, truly, truly, I could say on my mother, on my dad, who like that was all that was ever in my mind. And so, yeah, it was difficult. It was really, really tough. And I fought it and I tried. But ultimately, it was either you do this and we can make the film, or you don't do this and we can't make the film. It was a contractual thing. And so I did. And the story is in the world. And that was the most important thing, more than that stuff that doesn't really even matter. Yeah. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Shireen Mitchell. I'm known on Twitter as Digital Sister, so I do tweet at you every once in a while. I do have a big question.
My Twitter's Ava ETC. If anybody wants to join the party, we'd be time up in there.
I had the honor of spending some time with Dr. Dorothy Height, and she was there for the I Have a Dream speech for King. And the challenge that I have, and I want to ask you, is a lot of the history that isn't told by women when you finally get to have that opportunity to do that. Do you think that that will change the way that we see ourselves in Black America and America in general? Because we don't see enough women like you who are able to produce films that give a voice to our lives.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean, yeah, I think it'll definitely change as more women of all colors are able to share and create these images. I mean, images, I always say, affect the way we see ourselves and the way that we are seen. And so the image is vital. And if there's a dearth of them, then it affects the way we see ourselves and the way that we are seen. And so that has to expand, and it has to expand by any means necessary. My means early on was by making a film for $50,000, taking money I was saving from my house to make it. It was essential and imperative that I do it. Even though I look back and I see that I was doing it, you know, through intentions that were more material based. They were smaller than they should have been, wanting to prove something. You know, it was still a first step in getting to the place where I hope I'm going. And so, you know, the key is just to begin, just to begin. And that's why this talk is just to offer a different idea as to how to begin.
Do you think that was part of the criticism of LBJ that you got was because
of women?
Because your view of the story.
Oh, they were just grouchy.
Okay.
I don't know. Yeah, clearly it was because of my view of the story. It got into a whole thing about what is truth and what is fact. But what's true for me is not true for him. So what are we going to argue about? You can make your movie and I'm going to make mine, which is done and out, and sorry, it's out there, which is basically what it was. So no disrespect, but that's what it is.
Thank you for doing that.
Thank you. Hi.
Hi, Twitter handle @Sxsw.
What is it?
It's my first initial.
I like this. Let's just do this identification. Thank you.
More geek than nerd. If you had $20 million, would you make the same movie called In the Middle of Nowhere? Middle of Nowhere?
Would I make the same movie if I had $20 million?
200,000. I'm fascinated that you can make a movie for 200,000 and then another movie for 20 million, and they're still both movies, right? And were released and.
Yeah.
So if you had $20 million, would you go back and make the same movie?
Oh, Middle of Nowhere?
Yeah.
No, I would make 10 Middle of Nowheres. I mean, you know, like I still want to make small budget films. I think in this day and age as filmmakers, we need to be flexible. You know, I love Soderbergh because he'll go make Oceans and then he'll make Bubble. You know what I mean? He'll make, you know, Girlfriend Experience and he'll move to the Nick and he's, you know, like Spike, you know, he made commercials and docs and shorts and films and narratives, and it's just about being interdisciplinary across categories and not being so bogged down with the number. You can tell any story for any number. So I just am trying to stay in that place. That's why it was important for me to not go from a $20 million film to another film for more equal, but to just completely change gears and go a different way and challenge myself in that way. So, but no, if I had $20 million right now, if someone handed me $20 million, Ben, if you found someone to give me $20 million, I'd like try to make 4 films with that instead of 1.
Yeah.
Because I would rather be consistent and be able to have momentum and continue to make my work without asking permission. So I'd stretch the 20 and make 4 films for the next 4 years.
I think we'd all appreciate that because you make great.
Okay, let's find me $20 million. Thank you. Hi.
Hi, Ava. My name is Jessica Van Klein. Thank you so much for coming and just sharing. I was so inspired just hearing everything you had to say. I know everyone's asking a lot of questions about Selma, but I kind of want to just delve a little deeper into your mind. So I know it's like a creative, one project does not define your whole being. So I kind of want to know, do you have any dreams or desires to step into another genre, maybe action, adventure, sci-fi, anything? And how do you feel like you'll be able to do that without the current audience relying on you to provide content with civil and social undertones?
Yeah, no, I want to tell all kinds of stories. I'm not funny, so it'll never be a comedy. I know that for sure. I can't, that would be disastrous. But no, I want to explore all kinds of things. I'm a big Octavia Butler fan. If somebody gave me the rights to Kindred, I would make that hot. Let me just put it out there. But no, all kinds of genres I think are you know, in the wheelhouse of what I want to explore. I'm also kind of getting interested in VR right now, virtual reality storytelling.
Awesome.
So I'm trying to like tell every story every which way. So no, definitely looking forward to what's, God willing, what's ahead.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello. I was really fascinated by your talk that intention behind your attention, or
Yeah.
how you put it. So my question is, I'm curious, do you think it's going to be, how do you think it's going to be when you actually do it on purpose?
I know. I don't know. I'm excited, right? That's exactly what it is. I'm excited. I'm testing it out. I might be back next year to be like, y'all, that doesn't work. Scratch that. Let's try something new. But I'm doing that now on this film, and I've also just been trying to incorporate it in my life.
What
general.
about tips? Like a couple of tips on how would you do that on purpose?
How to do it on purpose?
Yeah.
Well, I start with the gratitude thing. Always centers me. So just in any kind of loud situation, stopping and figuring out what I'm grateful for in the situation. Like, when I was, woke up one morning and there were 2 stories on the front page of the New York Times calling me a hate monger and a distorter of history. And I was like, okay, what am I grateful for at this moment? Well, I'm in the New York Times. This is great promotion for my film. Maybe someone will see this and be like, I want to see what that gal's doing. And then that'll help us. I mean, just trying to deconstruct whatever situation, find, the blessing or whatever it is to be grateful in it. And so that's my first way in. And then that really opens me up to start to think about, a clearer way to approach whatever I'm facing. That's my tip. Thank you.
Thanks.
Hi.
Hi, Ava.
They say we have 10 more minutes? 5 more minutes? 10? 10 more minutes.
Ooh, cool. Great.
Hi.
Hi. I'm Diane.
Hi, Diane.
From Oakland.
Oh, from Oakland.
Yes. Yeah, okay. So I just want to thank you for who you are. It reminds me of the chant that says, we're the ones that we've been waiting for. So thank you.
Thank you, my sister.
For that. And also, I just want to thank you because I want everybody to turn around and look and see how gorgeous this audience is together. And that's because of you. So thank you for that.
Oh, thank
too.
you. It's a good group, good-looking group.
Yeah.
All kinds of people, though. You're right.
Gorgeous.
All kinds of people.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And so I have a more personal question, which is, what spiritual tradition were you raised, and what are some of your spiritual practices now outside of gratitude?
I don't like to talk about that.
Oh.
Because I think it's personal. I always feel a little allergic to people that talk about that in a way that's getting into, I don't know, personal. I've talked about it in the context of my work. But I mean, I can tell you I was raised Catholic. I went to all-girls Catholic school, high school. We had fantastic gray wool skirts. The guys really thought we were hot. But I went to Catholic school for 12 years, so I was raised, my education was through a religious environment. And then went to UCLA, and of course you have to reject all of that.
Right.
And then you have to find your way, and each person finds their own.
Great.
So
Thank you.
we're all on that journey. Thank you. Hi.
Hi, my name's Courtney Ziegler. I'm from Oakland too. Yeah.
Oh my goodness, hi.
Hi, I'm so excited.
Hi.
I love your work.
I
I'm
follow
such
you
a
on
fan.
Twitter.
I know. You liked one of my Facebook pictures. My heart melted.
Hi.
My thing is, can I take a selfie with you? I love your work and everything, and I would love to have a photograph with you.
That's the question?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Whenever you have free
we'll
time.
do it after.
Yeah,
Come
whenever
right
you have free
there,
time.
okay?
But that's definitely my
All right.
question. And but also, thank you so much for. I'm an independent filmmaker as well, but thank you so much for going through the links and the emotional links and the financial whatever to make sure our faces are shown on the screen. It is so important and it's so beautiful, and you're so right. Everything, Selma came out at the moment that it's supposed to. All of your work I've seen, and I just admire and love everything that you do. I'm such a stan, so thank you.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it. Thank you. Hi.
Hi, Ava. My name is Michaela Adams. I'm a youth journalist representing 91.7 Co-op Radio. I have a show called What's Your Status? Now, the question I'd like to ask, because I'm so in love with how humble you are and how artistic you are, but pertaining to Selma and just film in general, why do you think it's important to end the erasure of female revolutionaries in film?
In the erasure of film, why is it important?
Well,
well, it's an absence that's unacceptable. To be a revolutionary doesn't necessarily mean you're, a Black Panther. You can be a revolutionary in your own life. As I said, sometimes just to be present, just to be still, just to bear witness to your own life in a way that's not influenced by everything outside of you is a revolutionary act. Certainly, I believe to make film is a radical act for anyone of any color, any stripe, but even more so for folks who are absent from the screen more often than not. And so it's vital, mandatory, and we must do the work.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Hi.
Hey, how you doing? First of all, thank you for your work. Thank you for your support of other filmmakers. I'm a friend of Shaka King, and I appreciate your support of his film, Newlyweds. Everybody check it out.
Yeah, great film.
I just had a question in terms of being on a really short time frame with a very historically significant piece. What was strategy, or what kind of strategy do you recommend dealing with some research? And having to go through all of his speeches and rewrite them.
Sure.
What was your strategy in terms of having such a short time frame, but
right.
to do a lot?
Well, I was fortunate. Thank you. I was fortunate, and we have time for one question here and one question here afterward. I was fortunate because I was an African American Studies major at UCLA, so I knew my movement history. So I wasn't a director coming in like reading the basic books and trying to figure it out. I had that foundation. I had a deep understanding of the place because my father is from there. My politics are very aligned with, with progressive politics around the time, and so I wasn't starting from zero. So the research was able to be a little bit deeper. We were able to be more nuanced and layered with the characters and the theories that represent, the strategies, the tactics. Everyone didn't believe in I Have a Dream. He was more than that. He was a radical, he was a revolutionary, he was a tactician, he was a strategist. He was a badass, really. He's been homogenized. And so my view was just to really, reconstruct him with the vigor and the vitality and the vibrancy that he had. It's just to tell the truth as I saw it. So that was the base of it. And then beyond that, just a great team. Mark Freeberg, our production designer, Paul Garnes, one of my producers, Bradford Spencer, all coming together to really just research and figure out how can we even push that even further. So it was an honor. It was a great time. Thanks.
Hi, my name's Lean. First of all, thank you for an amazing keynote. It was very inspirational, and
I think you're putting a little, amazing, but it was good enough.
Okay.
Clearly, okay, good. Thank you, though.
Sort of building off other comments and questions made, I think diversity is incredibly important. And you now, as a woman of color who has showcased her incredible talent in such an immense and powerful film, what do you think of the representation and diversity in media today?
Oh, not enough. Not enough. And, we have to do the work. So, for me, it's not about saying it's not diverse enough. Hey, you guys, make it diverse. It's about, what are we asking for? The work has to be done. People who care about the work do the work that has to be done. Stop asking people who don't care about the work to do the work and do the work. And so if I look at television, if I look at television and I feel like there's something missing, then I need to say, okay, and not something missing, there's beautiful things out there. But if we want more, hi, babe. If you want more, then you have to go do more and go do the work. And so, I think it's just really, a lot of people talk, and I just try to act and or help other people act or encourage us to do what we need to do as opposed to talking about it.
Thank you.
Thank you. So they're telling me this is our final, right? Final right here?
Hi, Ava, I'm Sean Taylor. At T. Sean Taylor on Twitter. We've hit each other a couple times. I loved your speech. I'm glad you rewrote it. I don't know what you were going to say before, but it spoke directly to me.
Oh, good.
I'm a publicist who's becoming a filmmaker. And in fact,
it did speak pretty directly then, huh?
Totally. I'm here with Chaz, so this may be my only time to tell you. Chaz Ebert says hello.
Oh, good.
And we're headed to her panel afterwards. So I have a million questions, but I'm going to center on one because I know you made narrative film the first couple times, and my film is a narrative documentary. And I start writing, and I tear it up, and I go back, and then I film, then I go back. When do you write your narrative for your narrative film? Do you write it along the way? Do you wait and do you do all your filming and then go back, or do you just plan to you're just gonna tear it up and back and forth? I'm just kind of spinning right now.
Well, I'm fascinated by the narrative documentary that you're making because that's two forms. But yeah, no, when I make a narrative film, I write the script. I feel the script is the guide to what we're doing out there. Of course, you stay flexible and open. You work with amazing actors like Stephen Root, who's sitting on the floor. I can't believe he's here. And you let that be your guide and kind of your Bible as you move forward. You have faith in that script and you cling to that. You recite scripture from the script. right? Actors hate that, or I hate it when actors do that to me, but the script says, it's like, look, don't tell me my script back to me, right? Or when I say, well, there's evidence in the script, they're like, okay, look, okay, we know that the script, but really that script is a place where everyone can come back to as an anchor. So that's imperative to do for me, I mean, we see, Linkletter works differently. Kat Candler, I think, is here. She works differently. There's lots of beautiful filmmakers that are here, and everyone has a different process. And so you find your own way, and I'm sure you'll find yours. I look forward to seeing your film.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all very much. This was fun. I appreciate it. Thanks for coming. Have a good fest.
And we're sourcing the ladies that will come to our academy in 2 avenues. First of all, through other companies that would like to take our program and have us train their ladies, or through the Ministry of Labor and the Human Resources Development Fund. We'll be working with ladies that then don't have jobs. And what we would do is work with almost like preferred vendors and do on-the-job training where they've got 2 days in our academy and 3 days on the job.